All right, what's up, everybody? It's Kiwi at GhostColdBear.com. I'm back with another live stream, and I thought it would be an important one tonight to bring you a preview of the comeback of Mayhem Festival. That's right, tomorrow. So we record this on Friday, and maybe you'll watch this in the future. But tomorrow, Saturday, October 12th, is the return after almost 10 years of Mayhem Festival, a very fascinating case study in metal festivals in America. We don't have a lot of these. They're getting more and more prevalent now, but they weren't always. The Mall Ghosts are here. What's up? And yeah, I thought it would be fun to kind of preview the comeback of the festival and then give you a deep dive history of the rest of the festival. Normally, I might do it the other way around, but I thought let's go with a novel approach. Thanks for tuning in on this Friday night, Saturday, everywhere else in the rest of the world. Europe is the granddaddy of metal festivals, and Ghost Cult was actually founded. In case you didn't know, GhostCultMag.com and Ghost Cult Magazine was founded 12 years ago, primarily to focus on festival and concert coverage. But since then, we have been your everyday resource for rock and metal news, interviews with major bands, album reviews, and so much more. Thanks for tuning in. With that out of the way, let's do the damn thing. Thanks to everybody tuning in on TikTok. You are the only ones without the benefit of this awesome screen view that I have from StreamYard, but I thank you all for being here. We're trying to get our sub numbers up on TikTok, so if you want to drop us a sub here, Volbeat Rocker's already subbed, and he's a friend. Thanks for being here, Volbeat Rocker, even if you're just passing through. That's the right view. There we go. We got a little deck action here. Mayhem Festival is back. I never thought it would come back. I guess nothing. It's kind of like if you don't see the body, like in a superhero movie, they're never really dead. And we didn't see the body for a long time, but Nicolene Josephine is here. What up, what up? And yeah, I appreciate it. Toby Goldie, missed doing concerts. I'm a sound engineer and doing some touring. Nice work, Toby. It's a tough business out there, and I wish you the best. I hope you're good. And Mayhem Fest is taking place in San Bernardino at the Glen Helen Amphitheater, frequent home to concerts and festivals in the rock and metal genre and other genres. I have attended several concerts down there. I live in Northern California now, but that is in the LA area, San Bernardino in the mountains. And it's a great place to see a show. I know the bigger festivals do tend to use the entire layout. I have some comments about this year's festival. Oh, nice. Own recording studio. Very, very cool. Very cool. Toby, drop a link if we can find you online and help promote your studio, or if you've got an Instagram or something where we can scout you out later and follow you. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting that the festival, there were rumblings it was going to come back. We saw that fans are not always receptive to comebacks. Like Summer Slaughter didn't do too great. Could have been a marketing issue. Similarly to Summer Slaughter, Sumerian Records is also involved in Mayhem Fest, although Mayhem Fest does have, seems like Live Nation and the original team are back a little bit. And so, yeah, I know, again, similar to Summer Slaughter, I think the expectations were very high for a festival like this with that brand name to come back and kind of what it meant to people back then versus what it means today. And even just the whole festival game is different. I know there's a lot of rumors right now. We've been talking about it on our weekly live stream, The Weekly Ritual. You can also subscribe to us and find out when we go live. We've been talking a lot about the potential comeback of Warped Tour, which, just like Mayhem Festival, it's not a tour. It's a one-day festival. I don't think that Mayhem Festival, even if it does gangbusters this weekend, is going to come back as a whole tour. And it's the same thing with Warped Tour. I think Warped Tour will come back similarly as a festival or a series of smaller festivals and not what we used to expect. But without further delay, let's get into it. And again, feel free to conversate, drop a comment. I'll try to chime in when I can, where I can, and help. So yeah, Mayhem Festival. So we're going to preview tomorrow's festival, this weekend's festival, and then we're going to rehash the whole history of the festival in the shortest span of time as possible. I think this is super interesting. I was excited to do this. I probably should have did one for Summer Slaughter. I think it would have made for an interesting comparison. So yeah, people know the infamously and formerly sponsored by Rockstar was the #1 and main sponsor of the festival. Similarly, there were other major sponsors of the festival. The Rockstar Energy drink was the main sponsor throughout. the original run of the festival. I don't believe they're involved now. The main sponsors for 2024 are Live Nation, of course, because they put on everything and they own everything. We got to break up this monopoly somehow. Hit Parader. People still go to Hit Parader online or read Hit Parader magazine. This was a thing when I was coming up in the 70s and 80s. Hot Topic, still a thing somehow. Metalcore, moralcore, emo, pop punk. Hot Topic still a thing in 2024. And, of course, Sumerian Records, which is why there's a prevalence of Sumerian Records bands on this lineup. And like Sumerian brand type things. And, shout out to them for persevering for, almost, I think, 20 years of existence and, just kind of being at the forefront of whatever metal, the next thing is. Metalcore, deathcore, emo, whatever it is. But yeah, for years, Rockstar was synonymous with Mayhem Festival. And we're going to talk about that a little later. But for this weekend, the big festival this weekend, headlined by Bad Omens, which again, a little bit of controversy because Bad Omens canceled their entire basically world tour. Their front person has been suffering from exhaustion. It's Noah Sebastian, and just having a tough time. Fans, even fans with rose-colored glasses were saying maybe the performances weren't so great. Local Hoodlum has passed by. What up, Local Hoodlum? But, maybe they weren't playing as well because the band was not doing well, mentally, physically, etc. So they canceled everything except this appearance, except this show. So Bad Omens is going to headline. This will be their final show of 2024 unless otherwise noticed and told. And along with them, Parkway Drive, a very rare and excellent appearance in North America. They are a huge arena filler in every other place in the country, and here they're still a pretty reasonably sized big act. Architects in a rare, they've been touring North America this year behind new music, along with Jinjer, Poppy, Kittie, also now on Sumerian Records. Poppy released their Improbably Poppy live stream TV show and entertainment show. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate your little TikTok gift. Thanks, Val. Thanks a lot. August Burns Red, 7 Hours After Violet. I believe this is going to be one of the debut performances of that band coming from Chavo from System of a Down. The System of a Down seems unlikely to be coming back at any point soon while the band members do other things I find interesting. We Came as Romans, Suicide Silence, which was like a pinnacle, became huge because of Mayhem Fest. After the Burial, Throwdown, Born of Osiris, Peyton Parrish in the very first West Coast appearance. Sort of Peyton Parrish is like the Vikings soundtrack for people who aren't cool enough to listen to Hylung or Wardruna, and also Rock, Darkest Hour, who I love a lot. It Dies Today, Comeback, Throwback. Unearth, Brutus, great band we love a lot. Here it goes, called Escuela Grind, very controversial, but highly anticipated new music coming soon. Holy Wars and Roman Candle. I believe Mothica was on here and dropped off, which is too bad because we are big Mothica fans. We've covered Mothica all over the world. And their new album is out also and is excellent. So big lineup. This is in the background here, in the blurry background is the new visual poster. This is the branding for this year's festival. It's kind of like the Ghost Reaper is back. Like, all right, get it, cool. Well done. Well done. And so generically, when the tickets went on sale, they were touted to be in the $55 to $99 range. And I know that this is a time when some tours and festivals are not doing well. Overt Enemy is here. What up, Overt Enemy? We're just doing a little preview of Mayhem Fest this weekend and the history of Mayhem Fest. Overt Enemy is a friend, brand new music out now, great new single. And so we were looking at the ticket prices, and I, considering everything, that's not unreasonable. Some, we gave away tickets to Riot Fest, which is a whole weekend festival of 3 different days, except for a handful of bands. Like NoFX played every single day, but that ticket was very expensive, but that's a real curated, specific, giant event. We gave away tickets to New England Metal and Hardcore Fest, which would be about in the same range as this festival. So just in terms, the Danny Wimmer Fests are a little more expensive. I think they give you a little bit more. This is the same weekend as Aftershock. There's a flood of festival activity this weekend in North America. We also have a California Death Fest here in the Bay Area from the makers of Maryland Death Fest. So there's like Aftershock, this Death Metal Fest. If you don't like any of this commercial metalcore and baddie core, I'm not sure. Maybe you TikTokers know what that is, but some people call it that. And these mainstream rock bands and a few good, exceptional underground metal bands. And then this festival. So it's like a glut of things going on. Can California be big enough to sustain 2 metal festivals the same weekend? It seems so. Comfortable in my chair here. But yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to say. But we were looking at the historic comparison. I love doing this. I did this for the Woodstock 99 live streams, where I compared the pricing for each year and the different things, including Ozfest, including Warped Tour. So just looking at this competitively. In 2008, the first year of the festival, the tickets were $49.75, probably considered a lot of money back then in the Barack Obama years, or the almost Barack Obama years, right? 2009, tickets went down a little bit on an average of $41.75 to $49.99. So slightly down. Then we started to see a range of ticket options. And, like there's always lawn seats at some of these big amphitheaters. I mean, the festival came out of the gate swinging right away. But 2010, you had tickets as cheap as $31, mid-range seated amphitheater tickets at $80. And then you started to see a big jump for the pit to $155. And that kind of held firm for a couple of years, that pricing. Then it jumped up again where the pit price started to go up and up. To $175 in 2012. So again, this is just in comparison to this year's original stated ticket price. And then for the last few years of the festival's existence, we had, again, $49.75 to $155 in the pit. Then you saw an escalation to $160 for a pit ticket in 2014, $180 for a pit ticket in 2015, including maybe some VIP options. And but actually lawn tickets have been going down, and we'll talk about it when we do the meat of the history deep dive a little later, where you saw maybe very discounted tickets. Like if you buy early bird tickets, they're $20. If you get lawn tickets, they're $10. And then they were, in some cases giving tickets away those last few years, which is unfortunate. Then I looked tonight, right before recording this, and I went on a couple of websites, including Live Nation and including some resellers. So I saw some tickets going as cheap as $28 on Game Time, which, would be around half price. I saw some mid-range tickets for $41.30. A lot of tickets like that for the lawn and the amphitheater highest levels in Ticketmaster. Then there were resale tickets for about $122 and as high as $214.65, which, considering their resale tickets and what a shit scam that is, that's not terrible. If you didn't have a ticket and you really love one of those top bands and you want to go see Architects, or you want to go see Bad Omens, you want to go see Parkway Drive, and you drop $200 for your favorite band, you probably would. I know it's a very bad economy for concert goers. Not a bad economy in general. It's just a bad economy for concert goers right now. So anyway, here's the splits for tomorrow, and let's just kind of break it down a little bit band by band for you. And I'm looking off screen for you folks. I'm not insane. I have notes here and I have notes here, so cameras here and here. So I'm just kind of trying to keep it together. So doors open at 1 tomorrow, and there's 3 stages. The Hot Topic main stage, naturally, the main sponsor of the festival. Blood Runs Red stage, interestingly named. And the Back to Black stage. Is that an Amy Winehouse reference? I am not entirely sure. But the first band of the day up is Holy Wars. We're seeing them kind of rise up and make a name for themselves. And so the side stages alternate. I could not find a map of the festival. Now, I have been to several events and festivals at this place, and usually when there's 3 stages or more, they're very spread out. And that's kind of good, let's say, on the festival side. Thank you for your gift there, friend, whoever just sent one. Essentially, when you plot out a festival, you want to make people go all through the festival to see all the things, buy all the merch, see all the food options, whatever it is, do all the activities. And the Glen Ellen amphitheater is down in a, obviously it's in a big bowl with a covered amphitheater and a huge lawn, and then there's a huge fairway where you can put the other two stages. So hopefully the two other stages are apart, but not so far apart that you'd have to run back and forth to each one, since the sets don't overlap there. There's not that much overlap during the whole day. It's kind of planned out very well, I think, in terms of how festivals go. There's quite a few overlaps for Aftershock this weekend and no overlaps for the aforementioned California Death Fest. And then, so Roman Candle is the next band. I don't know too much about them. Let me know if you're a fan. Brutus, who we absolutely love from Belgium. They're kind of a great post-rock band with very little singing, but they are incredible. I highly recommend you do not miss them. I know a lot of people are going to pool around Escuela Grind, and It Dies Today. Then you have Born of Osiris, Unearth, Hanabie from Japan, great band on tour with Jinjer right now. Darkest Hour, The Legends, I love them so much. Throwdown, first show in 10 years, I think. After the Burial, great Sumerian band. Suicide Silence, always huge in Southern California. Probably a lot of fans are going to pop up. Dirt Wizard passed by. What's up, Dirt Wizard 666? We Came as Romans. Kittie headlining the final spot on the Blood Runs Red stage. And one of their rare performances this year, they did a mini tour. A couple of mini tours and some festivals, Sick the World and such. I suspect next year we'll see some more touring from Kittie. And then Rick Constantine's here. And then August Burns Red to close out the Back to Black stage. And then on the main stage all day long, we have Peyton Parrish, 7 Hours After Violet, I believe making their first LA appearance. Poppy, again, we love Poppy. We've covered her all over the place. Jinjer, I believe Mothica would have also been earlier in the day on one of either the main stage or one of the side stages. Architects, and probably their final US show for a while. And Parkway Drive, followed by Bad Omens at 9:35 to close. Hopefully, if you're going to this festival and you're watching this and the sound of my voice, you're going to show up early and try to see all the bands you can. But also, within reason, it's hot in Southern California. You need to hydrate. Not just with alcohol, you need to drink water, and you need to eat, you need to hit the restroom, you need to sit sometimes. You can't, I get it. I used to go super hard and see every single band, but you can't always. So just a word to the wise. I think that's a pretty solid lineup. I understand the controversy for Mayhem Fest that used to have just brutal, humongous bands. So like as big as Bad Omens is one of the biggest bands in the world right now in terms of rock and sort of a heavy metalcore rock band. And Parkway Drive and Architects are huge bands. They're bigger elsewhere in the world. Thanks for watching. Whoever's on Twitch, drop a comment. Thanks for being here. Give us a sub. We'll sub back. We'll follow back if you follow. It just doesn't have the same power as Slipknot and Korn and Avenged Sevenfold. I don't know who's bigger. Like, there's none of these bands are as big as those bands, surely. And even, Slayer and King Diamond from the final year of the previous iteration of Mayhem Fest. None of these bands are as big as those bands. But in terms of today's parlance, you got to capture the younger demographic. So a lot of these bands are, definitely would have a pull, would have a draw. Omens, Parkway Drive, Architects, Jinjer, Suicide Silence, Weekends, Romans, August Burns Red. There definitely tails off after a while. Jinjer is becoming huge, but they're not a headliner yet themselves. I think it's a very good, in terms of the price for the value, even if you bought a last minute ticket for a few $100, I think this is a very fair price for the value of this festival. And I wanted to point it out. But now here's the reason why people were put off by this in the first place. Thick Vegan Boy's here. We know you, Thick Vegan Boy. Thanks for being back. So we're just doing a little breakdown. We did a little preview of Mayhem Fest 2024. Like I said, not all my jams, but if I was going, I think I would have a good time. I do feel a little bummed that we are not covering it, but we do have a new team in place in LA. Just wasn't the right timing. But I would like to go cover it if it comes back next year. Got similar lineup. Again, this is a very complicated and busy weekend to be trying to do a festival. But let's go back. Let's take it back to 2008. You have your Ozfest. which had a good run. And then they tried to do kind of like the free Ozfest. Man, Metallica headline Ozfest for 1 year. There was a year where they tried to do, like I said, that free Ozfest where they had just sponsors and you had to sign up to be like spammed by all the sponsors, but you could get a basically free lawn ticket to the show. And then they had VIP and other things. Ozfest was petering out at that point. Warped Tour was kind of still going strong in your big emo metalcore rock phase. Your My Chems and your pop punk was still pretty big from 10 years earlier. And other bands like Avenged Sevenfold and Black Veil Brides and Asking Alexandria and bands like that were becoming big. So Mayhem, let's look at the 2008 lineup. And again, we had already done kind of the price comparison. So just again, I'll try to like pop it up on the other screen and see if I have this here. Yeah, so again, for $50 basically, and maybe 20 for the lawn, Mayhem Fest kicks off with a bang. Slipknot, Disturbed, Dragon Force Mastodon, Under Oath, Machine Head, which is right around the Blackening, right? Walls of Jericho, Black Tide. It's a band that's not around anymore, but for a few years they were a big hot thing, like maybe the next Trivium. Suicide Silence, The Red Chord, Five Finger Death Punch, way low on the main stage, on the second stage. 36 Crazy Fists, kind of a holdover from the 90s and the turn of the century. And Airborne, everybody's favorite Australian AC/DC lovers. So for $50, that's a pretty good value. And let's just quickly look. Let's see if I have some of the notes open here. Seven Dust was originally supposed to be on the festival and they ended up dropping off. They were replaced by Under Oath. So the main stage, Slipknot, Disturbed, Dragon Force Mastodon, Jägermeister stage, Jaeger, Machine Head, Airborne, Five Finger Death Punch, Walls of Jericho, and a Jaeger opening band, which rotated. They had like a battle of the bands every year, and the rotating opener would be an honorable mention if some of these are notable. And your Hot Topic stage, Under Oath, Black Tide, Suicide Silence, 36 Crazy Fists, and Red Chord. I have to say, like, Seven Dust probably deserved to be on that second stage over some of these other bands, and maybe that's why they pulled out, not sure. In terms of the side stage bands for 2008, some I don't recognize. Mower, Psycho Stick, still around somehow. The Autumn Offering, still around. Kingdom of Sorrow, Jamie Josta, Kirk Winstein. Hemlock, love those guys. Soil, and STEM from New York State. So kind of very interesting 2008 lineup. And again, for $50, it's a pretty great lineup and a pretty great value. 2009 was not without its issues. Go back in time mentally if you were around 15 years ago and think about Marilyn Manson in 2009. Very controversial and difficult, as well as Slayer. And Slayer fans versus Marilyn Manson fans was absolutely a thing. It was absolutely crazy. It was crazy. Let's just, again, the prices held pretty firm for 2009, about the same. I think for a lot of value in 2009 with Manson and Slayer co-headlining basically. And just so you don't, in case you don't know, when you have these major sponsors of a festival, that sponsor is paying for basically the two top bands. Like the top bands, all the marketing money comes from the sponsorship dollars of the main sponsor of the fest. So this year it's Hot Topic and Live Nation, of course, and Rockstar. Again, you know, I can't quite comment on how much money both bands were making, but you know, you can just only imagine the beef that ensued. And I have a personal story to share about my experience seeing this festival in 2009. It was quite something to see, I have to say. They did not like each other, Manson and Slayer. Manson was having very uneven performances, but sometimes he was great and sometimes he was terrible. The main stage was Manson, Slayer, Killswitch Engage, huge at this time on the strength of their mid-2000s albums. Bullet for My Valentine, also huge at this point. Mushroomhead replaced Bullet for a few days while they flew back to Europe to do a festival. Side stage, Trivium, All That Remains, God Forbid, and the Battle of the Bands winner. and Hot Topic stage, Cannibal Corpse, Behemoth, Job for Cowboy, Black Dahlia Murder, and Whitechapel. I remember all the death metal fans going early for that side stage and then peacing out. I didn't want to leave. My friends left, and I made it home somehow myself without them. So just a little history back then. Ghost Cult didn't exist 15 years ago. We've only been around 12 years. We just turned 12 this week. Thank you. And I was part of another publication from 2006, 7 to 2011, 2012 called Metal Army America. They used to be kind of the Century Media's version of Blabbermouth. Blabbermouth used to be under Roadrunner and then kind of spun off to its own thing. So I went to all of these, even if Ghost Cult wasn't around to cover them. The first one Ghost Cult covered was really 2013, and I'll get to that a little later. But so I go to Boston. I live in the Boston area at this time from 2005 to 2015. And it was a phenomenal day. It was super hot, I remember. And we went down there to the Tweeter Center, or whatever it's called now. August 4th, yeah, so August. And the Battle of the Bands winner that day that played was STEM. But yeah, I remember like the side stage bands were incredible. Whitechapel was still playing like a lot. It was like, this is really the heyday of deathcore and death metal in America at this point, on top of the new wave of American metal and metalcore. Whitechapel killed. Black Dahlia Murder was second. They were a lot of fun. I remember distinctly Job for a Cowboy. This is like peak Job for a Cowboy years live. Behemoth was great in the daylight. I was never seen them in a daylight show before. I'm sure people who are fans of European metal festivals probably had seen them before. I never had. And then Cannibal Corpse, like playing at like 5 o'clock on a Sunday, pretty great. Following, God forbid, one of my all-time favorite bands, All That Remains in Trivium, kind of very similar popularity type bands. Maybe All That Remains a little more popular. And then Mushroomhead. I think that I saw Bullet for My Valentine, so no Mushroomhead at Arbor Stop. Killswitch Engage, Slayer, and Manson. And so Killswitch Engage was pretty great. That Howard back then, and they were in a lot of big hits and a lot of big pub, if you will. And then Slayer. It seemed like all day the Slayer fans were very aggressive for some reason. And, this is the period of time where Jeff Hanneman is still in Slayer. And he, so it's this pretty decent Slayer lineup at this point. I think Lombardo is still in the band then. And then Slayer comes out. They play decently, but not great. They were a little sloppy. I think Jeff was kind of, I hate to say it and speak poorly of the passed away, but drunk and not playing great. They seem to have some beef with each other on stage. They didn't play their best, but Slayer fans are Slayer fans, and they're just going nuts. And they obviously closed strong with the big hits. And it seemed like I was like, oh, the Slayer fans are going to bounce and not watch Manson, right? But I was wrong. They stayed to see Manson. And they stay, the Manson comes out, and the Slayer fans, it seemed like a very lusty boo. So I know Manson fans bought tickets. There was a lot of Manson-type people in the crowd all day waiting for Manson. There's no other one-to-one at this time for Manson. Really, it's not like a goth industrial festival. It's a metal festival. And, I'm sure he has fans across all walks, but it was really interesting to me that Manson comes out to a chorus of boos. It's just boo. And he goes on the mic before the first song. The boos kind of stop, and he goes, I like Boston like I like having AIDS, which is a horrible thing to say, but kind of funny. And Manson played probably the best show I've ever seen in his whole career, and I've been following him since the beginning. We talked a bit yesterday on the live stream, the weekly live stream, about Manson's current legal issues, but like at that time, it was like peak Manson, and he wiped the floor with Slayer. I never saw another band ever upstage Slayer except maybe, Metallica. I've never seen anybody outplay Slayer. Manson's band, not as good material, but they outplayed Slayer. I have to tell you, I was really shocked. And I watched the whole thing, and then I made my way out of there. So just kind of a little exposition dump there. Moving on to 2010. Again, this is, 2010 prices start to inch up, and the pit ticket jumps from $50 to $75 to $155. But again, if you love a metal festival, you are going to do this. And this is the first year of Korn and Rob Zombie. And kind of your usual suspects. It started to become feel like maybe by year 3 that some of these bands were cycling through. I'm not sure, but Korn and Rob Zombie, Lamb of God. This is before Randy ends up going to jail in Czech Republic. Five Finger Death Punch now on the main stage somehow after just a couple of years. Atreyu, Norma Jean, 3 Inches of Blood, and In This Moment. Atreyu and Norma Jean, kind of Warped Tour bands, but also great bands. 3 Inches of Blood, really fun to see them there. In This Moment, I distinctly remember being really great and coming on at 9 in the morning, and Maria Brink was wearing a vinyl prom dress, which I'll talk about in a second. Hatebreed, Jägermeister stage, always brutal. Hatebreed, Chimera, Shadows Fall, Winds of Plague. So that's very evenly matched bands, and I remember Winds of Plague is the first time I had seen them, and they were pretty good live, if I recall. So yeah, let's just quickly to do a quick run through of the 2011 Mayhem Fest. 2010 Mayhem Fest. I want to lose track here. Korn, Rob Zombie, Lamb of God. Avenged Sevenfold played my date of the festival, so they played only 2 dates, July 25th and 27th, because they had their record come out right at that time. I believe it was Nightmare. The Rev had passed away, and Mike Portnoy was playing drums for them live for a whole couple of tour, maybe even a year. And so they got folded in. Five Finger Death Punch, kind of surprisingly, still on the main stage. The Silver Star stage, again, Atreyu, Norma Jean, In This Moment, 3 Inches of Blood. Jaeger stage, as aforementioned. Hatebreed and Chimera. Both bands canceled on Shadows Fall and Winds of Plague, both canceled on August 10th and 11th. That might have been because of weather. And then Winds of Plague ended up playing on the other stage most of the time, even though they were announced for the Jaeger stage. Kind of weird. I'm not sure what was going on there. But I distinctly remember this festival being, really great. Again, we were covering for Metal Army at this time. And this is the first time I think we had press coverage to go review the show a bunch of times. And then we started to get coverage to go do interviews and eventually photography. So I remember this being kind of a spectacle. All the bands played well. I had never seen Lamb of God on this big a stage before. Maybe the only time I'd seen Lamb of God, I think they played at Ozfest that I saw, and they also played the Sounds of the Underground tour, which was outdoors on a pop-up stage. But this was major I remember, pretty major for Avenged Sevenfold and Lamb of God. Avenged Sevenfold, relatively up-and-coming band at this time, and Nightmare was a huge record for them, and it was a pretty big, they had pyro, and God had a little bit of smoke and pyro. Zombie had his usual zombie craziness, and it was a pretty excellent show from Zombie. And Korn was great. Notables on the side stage, like I said, 3 Inches of Blood. Again, we're happy to see them there frequently on these bills. In This Moment, this is peak In This Moment. What was their big record at that time? It's before they kind of went a little more commercial, and they were kind of like hard rock and metalcore. And they were pretty great. Maria's pretty great live. And of course, again, even if you just had the 3 bands, Hatebreed, Chimera, and Shadows Fall on the third stage, that was phenomenal. And they would all kind of jump on and do guest appearances with each other. It was a lot of brotherhood happening between these artists. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Thanks, Jose Hernandez, for your gift. I appreciate you. Much appreciated, pal. So that was 2010. And to move it forward to 2011. 2011, this is a wild lineup, if you really think about it. And I think that I left early. To be honest, this lineup is a little cray. Hey, We Are Connected says, honestly, there's only a handful of Best I'd make more than an effort to see, one of which was Roadburn. Roadburn is my favorite festival ever that I've ever gone to, and I need to go back. I love it so much. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Dillinger Compounds here. I don't want Warped Tour to return. Exactly. Can't wait for Warped Tour to return. Warped Tour should never return. Back in 2010, it was ticks and concessions were astronomical. Agreed. Jace Delivery Service says, hi, hello, how are you doing? And it's all good. There's a little delay here, so it's good to know that's your opinion, Yeah. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We'll keep it civil here. But yeah, Dillinger Compound. I don't know. I will talk about Warped Tour more when we get the announcement for it. I think it's going to come back as a festival, not a tour, and I'll explain why. And it's the same thing with this festival, honestly. They don't have the major sponsorship where they can. I'm good, pal. I'm good, Jake's Delivery. But thanks for being here on Twitch. It's good to see the Twitch people pop in. Starting to pick up some steam here on this breakdown of all the history of Mayhem Fest. And if you go back and watch this when the stream is over and you watch on the replay, we previewed this weekend's Mayhem Festival, the comeback after almost 10 years, which is pretty cool. Thanks. You have a great day too. Thanks for being here. So yeah, this festival, I remember distinctly not loving the 2011 lineup and leaving early. So Disturbed, Godsmack, I felt like it was insulting for these two bands to. I understand it's about ticket sales and popularity, but I just thought I was really offended. And I like Disturbed, and I don't love Godsmack, but like they have some good songs and they're good live. I love Shannon Larkin, the drummer, and I like the drum off. They still do it. Godsmack said recently they're not making any new music, and I say, good job, don't do it. But Megadeth, I was just so insulted, incensed, especially after coming back from being broken up, basically, and Dave's arm injury and coming all the way back. I was really insulted that Megadeth had to come on before Godsmack and Disturbed. So I definitely left at the beginning of Godsmack. We covered the festival somewhere else, and we got a whole review of it somewhere for Metal Army. Also on this show is Machine Head, In Flames Trivium. I think In Flames ends up dropping off. Suicide Silence, Also Perish, love them. Straight Line Stitch, I have a great photo of me with them coming up. Unearth, Kingdom of Sorrow, Red Fang, new on the scene, and the Jägermeister opening band. So let's just quickly, and I think that photo is here. Hey, it's me and Alexis Brown of Straight Line Stitch. I missed that band. They were like a brutal metalcore band. They were capable of like progressive metal and brutality, but they had a lot of grooves. And Alexis could scream and sing and was really underrated. And I did an interview with her. This is photographed. This is me. Look at me with no beard and my camera bag, and I have my photo pass. So I shot this festival for Metal Army, and this is shot by my best friend in the world, Curtis Dunlap, who's also a Ghost Cultist. And yeah, Rip Mitch, man, Suicide Silence. I have so many Suicide Silence stories. I really saw them kind of evolve into this huge band. So 2011 was, despite everything, In Flames ends up dropping off the tour halfway through. Actually, only after a few dates. They had a family member fall ill, and they canceled, and they couldn't really. They were supposed to be on the rotating, so it was the main stage, and then they would rotate in openers. And I think Death Clock played the first date of the tour. It was like one of their first big things, and then Megadeth joined on for the second date. So Disturbed, Godsmack, Megadeth, Death Clock on one date on July 9th. Machine Head, Trivium, In Flames, and Hatebreed. Again, another one of those summer festival things where Trivium jetted out for a few days and Hatebreed took their spot. Then Testament took the Revolver stage, and they headlined, replacing In Flames for a few weeks. Suicide Silence, All Shall Perish, and Straight Line Stitch, who were amazing. Jaeger stage, the Athearchists. I don't remember this band too well. So two-piece hardcore thrash band from Eugene, Oregon. So, this motorcycle outside my window. Just waiting for that to pass. Unearth, Kingdom of Sorrow, Jamie Justin, Red Fang, and the Battle of the Bands winner. And I remember this again, Mansfield, Mass, July 22nd at the Comcast Center. Dead Season, not to be confused with the Dead Season from New York City, but Dead Season was the opening band as I pop another seltzer. And I had so much fun at this, covering this, interviewing bands. I interviewed All Shall Perish. I interviewed Mitch for Suicide Silence. That's gone now. I was supposed to interview In Flames that dropped off the tour. I interviewed Dave McLean, formerly of Machine Head. I interviewed Corey Ballou of Trivium, who remembered me for years after this from that interview. I interviewed Megadeth, Sean Drover, and Junior Ellefson. And like I said, I watched Megadeth, and I thought Megadeth was amazing, and then I bounced, because I was like, nope, nope, and nope. Then there's 2012, and now this is 1 year before Ghost Cult. I joined Ghost Cult, so this happened a few months before I joined Ghost Cult, and this is the year before Ghost Cult got to cover it. but I still was covering this for my other outlet. And let's just quickly look at this lineup. This felt like a stronger man. No diss to Disturb, who's become huge, and no diss to Godsmack or whatever. I just did though. But Slipknot and Slayer and Motorhead is just much better than Godsmack and Disturb. There's just no way around it. So 2012, Slipknot headlining for the second time, Slayer, Motorhead, and a rotating band. The rotating bands were a little lesser, honestly, Devil Wears Prada, As They Lay Dying, and Asking Alexandria. Definitely a step down. Anthrax should have been on the main stage. Anthrax was the headliner of the Jaeger stage, and they were fan-frickin-tastic. And then you had rotating bands, Whitechapel, Upon a Burning Body, Betraying the Martyrs, I the Breather, Ventana, Silver Tongue, and the Battle of the Bands winner. And then Sumerian had a stage. This is almost too many bands. Upon a Burning Body, never been a fan. Not sure if you are. And I the Breather, Betraying the Martyrs. So they all kind of like shifted around. Dirt Fed, Battle of the Bands, Thrown into Exile, Karen Comes Killing, Depths of Mariana, Spiral, Fracture, Eyes of Torment. None of these bands are around today. I think that's pretty funny. Tom Osmond's interview with Chat Pile was great. It was, wasn't it? What a great job. Yeah, it's going to be expensive, but yeah, the memories. I remember we buttered the bread with butter, and it was a period of time where a whole bunch of bands had some crazy names. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dillinger, we love you, man. Yeah, you're in the Hall of Fame in my heart, forever and ever. You can comment anything, anytime. I love you so much. Tom did a great job. Tom's our managing editor in the UK. He runs our written reviews, album reviews team, along with some support from Matt Cook. Tom is great. Tom makes his own music. Love the Blood Incantation. There's a review of it here on YouTube. You can check it out. Love that. Probably one of my top 5 records of the year so far. I am waiting for that Opeth. I'm trying not to cheat and listen to it too early, but I could go listen to it. I do love Opeth. Try not to let my inherent biases fuck me up, but I don't know what to do. So 2012 was pretty great, and I think I've got some photos I think I shot Motorhead 3 times in my career. I don't do concert photography anymore, but I shot Motorhead at this festival. I was that close to Lemmy, and it felt great. And I love Motorhead so much for so long. They killed it. He looked great. He sounded great. This is just a few years before he would pass away. And I shot Motorhead 3 times, and this was the second time I shot them. I think I shot them opening for Megadeth, also in an arena. It was a difficult shoot. But here's this picture I shot of Kerry King Slayer. Everybody went to go shoot Kerry and Tom, so this picture is a little bit further away with my, at the time, 200 lens. And then this is probably one of my favorite pictures I have ever taken. This is my old watermark. I don't even use this watermark anymore here. But this is Gary, Slayer from Gary's side of the stage with the fire going up behind Gary, and Gary's bathed in this eerie green and orange lights from the fire, and they were just fan-frickin-tastic. What can I say? Fan-frickin-tastic. So, and here's a picture. Here's Omar Cordy, the co-owner of Ghost Cult, with his son back then. And they are, by the way, Junior there in that picture. He's now 21, that kid. He's now voting age. Crazy. So that was a fun day. We all went together like a little family. And I want to tell you that all the bands treated that little kid like gold, which really, felt good in my heart. I was like, this is wonderful. So 2012 winds down, Metal Army America is going dark, and I end up joining Ghost Cult magazine, which is basically a small digital magazine and zine brand from Europe, and I found their US team, and by the beginning of 2013, I'm the owner and the sole editor, and so we get to cover Mayhem Fest 2013, which was the 6th annual one at the time. And Behemoth were scheduled, but they were going to sit out of the tour based on their drummer turning ill and needing his appendix out, and they couldn't replace him on short notice. So this one was interesting. Now, we've seen Five Finger Death Punch go from the bottom of the side stage to the second headlining band of the festival. I didn't even understand how this was possible. Rob Zombie, Five Finger Death Punch, Mastodon. This is already The Hunter is out. So this is past Crack the Sky and past The Hunter. Unearth, who were fantastic back then. Side stage, Machine Head, Job for a Cowboy in one of their last tours ever at the time. Butcher Babies, Battlecross, and Huntress. Oh, rest in peace, Jill Janis. I love Huntress so much. Then MIT Musicians Institute sponsored the stage, and this is a complete clusterfuck of bands. This is Children of Bodom, who were pretty good. Unearth, not a huge fan, but okay. Born of Osiris, great band. Motionless in White on one of their first tours ever. Attica 7, which is defunct, was kind of like a stoner rock band with Evan Seinfeld of Biohazard on lead vocals, and one of the guys from Sons of Anarchy on guitar who owns a chopper shop. I don't know. Pop culture fans help me out. Thrown into Exile, solid band. Then there was the Sumerian stage, Scorpion Child, who has a brand new song out, by the way. Just came back with a new song. And City in the Sea, who I absolutely don't remember. The side stage was a big clusterfuck. I remember trying to shoot most of these bands. Children of Bodom was great. Huntress I loved, and they were fantastic. And Jill would pass away a few years later. Battlecross was crushing it at this point. They were so good. Butcher Babies was strong at this point, pretty good. Job for Cowboy was great. Machine Head crushed it. This is around the time of Locust. So they're just riding high between the Blackened and Locust. Amon Amarth, Mastodon, Five Finger Death Punch, pretty solid. I remember Five Finger Death Punch bringing a lot of little kids on stage with hearing protection and giving some money to some veterans and cops. I thought that was okay. You know, their fans love them, Five Finger Death Punch. They're okay. Not the worst I've ever heard. And Zombie being Zombie. Zombie does Zombie all the time. That's kind of what he does best. I think there's a picture here of Zombie. Look at that picture of Rob Zombie. He's so fun to photograph. I was lucky to photograph him a few times. So, moving on, we're almost done here. Mayhem Fest 2013. 2013 comes around, and it was a pretty solid lineup here. Ozfest was already coming back at this point after being kind of down for a while. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, let's just take a quick look at the 2013 lineup. So, clicking you here is my off-screen stuff. And then, so yeah, this year was a little wild. We had Avenged Sevenfold, Korn as the two headliners, pretty evenly matched. Again, people started to feel like these are the same bands again. Asking Alexandria, Cannibal Corpse, Suicide Silence, Mushroomhead, finally making it to the festival full-time. Trivium, Body Count, Miss May I, Amir again, Vale and Maya, so Louse and Marion bands, Upon a Burning Body, Texas Hippie Coalition, first time for them. Darkest Hour, El Nino, Wretched Islander, first tour for them, one of their first tours. King 810, Word, and Erimha. It's a great symphonic black and death metal band. We don't hear from them much anymore. And we had this covered out in California. At the time, I wasn't living here. Here's a picture of Avenged Sevenfold. They had a huge production in Fire. It was crazy. I have a fun story I'll tell another time about how Avenged Sevenfold almost set me on fire one time because we were put out in the wrong song. We came out, we were told we were going to shoot song number 1, 2, and 3. Like that's a typical major show photo experience. No flash, first 3. It was supposed to be 2, 3, and 4 because the first song had Fire for the song Nightmare. So go into the pit. We're waiting for the kabuki curtain to drop. We're sitting, we're waiting to shoot. And then we hear like, get out of the pit, get out of the pit, get out, get out. And they rush us out. And then the curtain drops and the fire goes up. Right in time to like the first big chord of the song. So I'm glad I'm not burned alive, but I definitely felt the fire. It kind of sucked. And now for the ill-fated and difficult Mayhem Fest 2015. So they announced Mayhem, and I mean, like you could tell in 2014, even though that lineup is very strong, that maybe the tickets weren't selling as well. And so they tried to really stack these legends in 2015. And King Diamond hadn't been touring for a while. So you had Slayer and King Diamond co-headlining. Hell Yeah, Devil Wears Prada again, and then Victory Records had their own stage that had Whitechapel, Leonard's Murder, Jungle Rot, Sister Sin, and Sworn In, and a bunch of other bands. So let's just quickly, it seemed like it was struggling. I don't think the lineup is terrible, but you can see other bands include Shattered Sun, still around, Feed Her to Sharks from Australia, Code Orange in one of their first big national tours, and Kissin' Candace. And the ticket sales were kind of low, and they were giving away tickets at some we had Groupon at this point. Some things that were like, day of the show, $5, come in to get a pit ticket. And it was like people were mad. They had already paid a lot of money for tickets. Some of the shows were downgraded to smaller venues because they were not hitting quotas to have enough people. And there was apparently some beef between King Diamond's crew and Slayer. Not them personally, but beef between the bands. And like maybe King Diamond felt they were getting shortened on their set so Slayer could have a longer time to get set up and go. Both bands had pretty big production, and there was a lot of drama. And then there's a cool picture of King Diamond. This is shot by Kevin Estrada, former Ghost Cult photographer, famous photographer in Southern California, and Slayer. Here is a great picture of Tom and Kerry, not Tom and Jerry, but Tom and Kerry. And so people know who Kevin Lyman is, the co-founder of Mayhem Fest, along with John Reese. These are two big concert promoters on the West Coast, and infamous for Warped Tour and Countless Uproar Tour, Monster Energy Festival and Tour, and a bunch of other things. And so they were partners for a long, long time. And then John, during the tour, there was like a lot of, internet is a thing now, social media is a thing now. Corey Westbrook passed by. Hi, Corey. Good to see you. And so John Reese writes this letter, this public letter. Headliners were complaining like, fans are not here. I don't understand what's going on. Taking shots at other bands on the tour. Kerry King was very vocal about like, maybe these bands kind of suck and I don't understand this lineup that well. And maybe Kevin also made a lot of comments like, blaming the fans, which, it's like when a sports guy and when a sports team loses and one of the guys says, like, the fans are kind of shitty, it's not our fault. Not great. So John Reese, who is not a guy that's as publicly well known as Kevin Lyman, makes a statement. I'm going to read this letter. This is from the PRP in 2015, July 29th. So the tour is almost over. Dear fans of heavy music and metal bands everywhere, we are one community. It is vitally important to our community that we all unite and not divide. Without each other's support, the only thing that suffers is metal as a genre. In the midst of our most challenging year in the 8 years of producing the festival, my partner Kevin Lyman made some comments. He has subsequently apologized for. Kevin is an honorable man. He's given everything he has to the presentation of music and expanding the profile of countless artists. This is all true. I am proud of our partnership and our results throughout the years. We've always tried to deliver a platform for artists to expand their fan base and the genre as a whole. In saying this, various people involved with the 2015 Monster Energy Mayhem Fest and some from the metal community have understandably made some divisive comments regarding the event. The event has suffered as a result of these many comments. These guys were not ready for the internet, these boomers, huh? Just saying what's up to you on TikTok. Again, thanks for being here on TikTok. If you guys want to sub, we appreciate it. Let me get those numbers up. What's done is done, but I'm here to say that heavy music is alive and well. I shouldn't have to remind everybody that we as a culture have faced ostracism from the mainstream for decades. We should not let it over sensationalized media hype separate us. He's talking about he's talking about Blabbermouth and Metal Sucks and Metal Injection. Ghost Cult probably. We didn't shit on the fest though, but we covered the fest. We were happy to cover it. I think we're all tired of the bullshit. I know I am. All caps. Boomer action. I think John and Kevin are great, but let's move the conversation forward. Thank you, Slayer, King Diamond, Hell Yeah, Devil Wears Prada, every single band that performed this year. I'd also like to end a few choice things for any media conspiracy headlines. And then he goes on to do some other wild, weird shit. Hopefully I will see you at Knotfest 2015. Knotfest was also becoming a thing. So this is toward the end of the tour. And then the tour, it's announced that they are never coming back. basically after this because of low ticket sales and other things. So that kind of takes us to today. Why the fest has been going for 9 years and why is it just coming back now, and why it doesn't have Slipknot, who's on their own, who has their own festivals now, and Slayer, who's doing select shows, and King Diamond, who's coming on his own tour, and Korn, who has their own tour. So I think it's just such a, so difficult. Hey, over an Enemy, happy Friday once again. It's just so difficult to put on a festival or a concert tour. I understand, like, this is a new generation. You got to get those new younger fans to get in here and like come to this festival. So that's why it's a prevalence of metalcore and melodic metalcore and rock bands with a few good metal bands. Again, it's the same thing. If when Warped gets announced, it's going to be like maybe one big band and a bunch of baby punks, because you can't possibly afford all these bands that became huge because of Warped Tour. I would love to see Sharon bring Ozfest back, even if it doesn't include Ozzy. If you'd have to stack it with a lot of fans to come out. And Sharon has also said that the bands got very greedy and the band managers got very greedy. So I'm happy Mayhem Fest is back in some way, shape, or form. I was happy that Summer Slaughter came back, even if it didn't have great banging death metal bands. I think there's room for everything. Aftershock is this weekend, apparently going very well. California Death Fest is this weekend in Oakland from the makers of Maryland Death Fest. I hope this is a sort of start of another round of California Death Fests, bigger and bigger. And thanks for being here and watching. We're almost at the hour mark, so I'm going to pack it in. But overall, I think it's good that Mayhem Fest is back. What do you think? If you watched this long, thanks for being a real one. Drop a comment. Do I think climate is going to drive the long-term changes in Fest? Not sure. 100 degrees, 100 plus degrees is not fun. Honestly, I didn't go to, as much as it pains me, I didn't go to Aftershock. I've been having health issues all year. I did the No Values Fest in Pomona, California for one day in June, and it nearly killed me. And Milwaukee Metal Fest is back, and it's rules, and we covered it the last 2 years. I'm going to hopefully come out for the next year one. Maybe I can do like a 1-2 Milwaukee Metal Fest and Metal Death Fest. But that's a lot for me physically and mentally. But I think the other thing, more than the temperature, is you're seeing these storms wipe out a whole day of a festival. So, like, what do you do if you traveled to see Slayer? You paid all this money to go to one day of that festival, and that day is canceled. We have review coverage coming from Louder Than Life, and our person only got to do 2 days, and it'll be fine. She did a great job, and Rachel Rosie. But what do you do? We don't want people getting killed at these festivals. Like, that's the worst thing. You don't understand how catastrophic it is to have a stage fall on people and kill them. Have you ever seen these videos of the state fair wind getting the stage knocked over? Like, you don't want it. You don't want to be that. You don't want to be a ticker on one of these websites. You got killed at a festival. We had a person die at Riot Fest. Had nothing to do with Slayer, by the way. The guy was a huge Slayer fan. He was found unresponsive in another part of the place. There's no conspiracy. He didn't get trampled during Slayer. It's just not possible or true. I've been to Riot Fest. It's wonderfully handled and managed. But anyway, just kind of spitballing now. Glad Mayhem is back. Not sure what the future is for all these festivals. Not sure we're going to get touring festivals back like this. And I think Knotfest can go from city to city to city, but not all in a row. It's just too much to do. And even Metallica failed at doing festivals. They did 2 of them, and they were pretty great, but they made no money. So even the biggest band in the world struggled to do festivals by themselves. So that's my word. Welcome back, Mayhem Fest. Thanks for watching. GhostColdMan.com. Check out our other content everywhere here on the web and social media. Please give us a like or a sub if you enjoyed any part of this. And if you didn't, drop a comment and let us know what you didn't like, because I actually read every comment, good, bad, or otherwise. We'll be back with more stuff over the weekend and our regular scheduled programming next week. I'm Keefe for GhostColdMan.com. Peace out. We're out. Bye.